They said he was born under a bad star, a prince cursed by prophecy, destined to plunge Rome into chaos. His name was Gaius Julius Caesar Germanicus, but history remembers him by the name whispered in both fear and mockery, Caligula. From his earliest days, the world seemed determined to shape him into both a hero and a monster. He was the son of Germanicus, Rome's beloved general, adored by soldiers and citizens alike. In the army camps, young Caligula walked among men hardened by years of blood and battle. They dressed him in miniature boots, caligae, and paraded him on the march, calling him Little Boots. It was meant to be an endearing nickname, but the boy absorbed more than applause. He learned the intoxicating power of admiration. He learned that men could be molded by awe, a lesson he would later wield mercilessly. Yet tragedy cast a shadow over his youth. His father died under mysterious circumstances. Some whispered poison, others accused political rivals of murder. The young prince, who had seen the world through the eyes of a soldier and the hope of a nation, now glimpsed its darkness. Betrayal, fragility, and death were lessons carved into him before he could even understand. Something inside him changed, something that would fester and grow over the decades to come. Years later, the young prince ascended to the throne after the death of Tiberius. Rome erupted in celebration. A young emperor, the heir of Germanicus, had returned to restore light and order to a city that had grown tired of tyranny. Caligula initially delighted the people. He distributed largesse to soldiers, freed prisoners, restored temples, and hosted games that dazzled the masses. For 6 months, he appeared the perfect emperor. The golden boy of Rome returned. Then came illness. A fever struck him, laying low the young ruler for days. Some whispered that it was poison. Others believed the gods themselves intervened. When Caligula emerged from the shadow of illness, he was transformed. The charm, humor, and empathy of the young emperor had vanished. In its place stood a man with an unshakable conviction. He was divine. No longer merely a ruler, he became a god walking among mortals. He adorned himself in robes of gold, draped with the symbols of Jupiter, and demanded temples be erected in his honor. Priests hesitated, and those who faltered faced punishment or death. The palace became a theater for his own divinity, the Senate an audience, the citizens a congregation. If you want to see more rulers who lost themselves to the intoxication of power, hit that like button and subscribe, because this story of madness only intensifies. Caligula's reign quickly descended into chaos and spectacle. He waged symbolic war against Neptune, commanding legions to collect seashells from the shore as the spoils of his victory over the sea god. He built massive bridges of boats across the Bay of Naples, riding his horse across them, laughing as waves crashed violently beneath him. His acts were both genius and madness, stunning in scale, terrifying in intent. Yet Rome was more than a stage. It was a theater of terror. Senators were executed for imagined slights. Family members were imprisoned, tortured, or killed. Caligula's paranoia grew alongside his ego, and the people of Rome began to whisper in fear. No one could predict what would trigger his wrath. A look, a misstep, a failing tribute could mean death. Among his many obsessions, none was stranger than his love for his horse, Incitatus. Caligula lavished the animal with gold flakes for food, a marble stall, silk blankets, and even servants dedicated entirely to its care. He promised to make Incitatus a consul, a symbol of the emperor's power and disdain for the Senate. Was it mockery or madness? Rome could not tell. The act itself became legend, a testament to the dangerous fusion of arrogance and imagination. Beyond the palace, Caligula sought to manipulate perception itself. He conversed with the moon, claiming guidance from divine voices. He held feasts where servants and courtiers bowed to invisible gods. He claimed victories over nations that never existed and paraded imaginary spoils through the streets of Rome. Every act, every word reinforced his delusion. He was no man, he was a god. And yet, even gods are fragile. His Praetorian guards, once devoted and loyal, began to fear him more than they revered him. Senators plotted quietly in shadowed halls. Rome itself shivered beneath the weight of an emperor unbound by reason or restraint. One night in 41 AD, Caligula descended into the dark corridors of his palace, preparing for another grand performance, another stage of godhood. There, the men sworn to protect him, the Praetorian Guard, struck. Daggers flashed in torchlight. The self-proclaimed god fell, bleeding onto the marble floors he had once claimed as sacred. His crown rolled away, a symbol of both power and hubris, and the man who ruled Rome as a deity was reduced to the frailty of flesh. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Caligula's statues were torn down, temples desecrated, and his name condemned. The Senate erased him from records, trying to remove his presence from the city. But stories of his madness, cruelty, and godlike delusions endured, whispered through generations as cautionary tales of what happens when ambition, power, and insanity merge. Even today, the ruins of Caligula's palaces, the echoes of his laughter, and the bizarre tales of his reign remind us of a terrifying truth. Ambition without restraint can destroy not only those who wield it, but the world around them. Caligula didn't simply seek power, he sought immortality in the minds of men, to live forever as a god in the hearts of Romans. But his obsession, like so many before and after him, ended in blood and ruin. Next, we turn our gaze to the sun-drenched lands of Egypt, to a pharaoh who challenged centuries of tradition and defied all gods of his land in pursuit of ultimate divinity. Akhenaten, the pharaoh who challenged heaven. Subscribe and turn on notifications to follow this series because these stories aren't just history, they are timeless legends of ambition, madness, and the relentless pursuit of immortality.